There are two types of coaches. There's the know-it-alls and the learn-it-alls.
A few weeks ago on the podcast, we broke down the 5 coaching personalities and we dropped it in our membership. And most of our SAVI basketball members identified with being the guru. And while the guru can make you an expert coach and can give you a lot of energy around the game of basketball, there's also some weaknesses that you should be aware of.
And the biggest gap that we've seen with coaches that really fit into this guru personality type is their teams don't actually get that much better throughout the season. They're often so focused on X's and O's and game plan tweaks from game to game that they miss what is the quickest way to improve, which is just by developing better players. So stick around because we'll share how you can develop a strong team identity while leaning into your strengths as an expert, as a guru. And if you want to, just take our personality test. If you don't know which one you think is strongest for you or which one is strongest for you, just send me a quick email, tyler@savvycoach.com. Just put test, T-E-S-T, in the email, and I'll just email you back a link to take the personality test.
Welcome to The Hours. This is a podcast for coaches at all levels who want to think, teach, and lead better. I'm Mark Cassio, joined by Tyler Costin, and we call this The Hours because this is where we get to deep dive and have real conversations and spend real time on the things that actually matter. You can get the show notes and tools from today's episode in our weekly newsletter, so check out the link below. Let's get into this week's episode.
Mark, make me a better guru.
Well, let's define a guru. A guru is going to be somebody that's just super energized with X's and O's. They're the coach that wants to game plan you, spend a lot of time on scouting. And I find that they will look for answers in strategy instead of maybe player development or other areas. So they're going to try to win the chess match. So in order to be a better guru, I think you need to develop a filter as a coach, because now more than ever, you can go on any social media platform and find a good play. And you might have a bad offensive night, a bad shooting night, or you might get scored on a lot and give up way too many points. And then you come across something that catches your eye and you might think that's the answer, right? We got to install this play. And I get this from our members all the time. They'll send us a play and say, hey, what do you think? And I'll say, I think it's great. I think it's awesome, but I wouldn't necessarily run it for a few reasons. One, that's not who we are. That would be a huge deviation from RDS, which we run as our core offense. It just doesn't fit. I feel like we'd be going off brand of the style of basketball and the environment that our players are used to operating in. So if you are looking to add, because I don't want to make the guru sound bad, if you're looking to add something, or you're looking to tweak in the offseason, I would look for actions that you like over plays that you like, because plays, it's going to be more dictating behavior where all 5 players do something and you try to get a shot. Well, if you have an action, then that could show up anytime throughout a possession or anytime throughout the game without you having to call a specific play for a specific player.
If you're curious what our current version of the test looks like, this is what you'll get. And if you missed last week's episode or 2 weeks ago's episode, you've got the teacher, the connector. We did reference the connector as a motivator. They're the relational coach. The connector, the guru, which we're talking about today, the competitor, and the CEO. And one thing I do know, well, Mark, I've taken this test 5 times now, and I've gotten a different answer each of the 5 times because I'm refining it. I'm changing the questions, and now I kind of know what the questions are looking for. My most recent iteration, I got the CEO. At one point, I did get the guru. But here's what I know. If I got a head coaching job, I would want to recruit a guru on my staff. Like if I got a head coaching job, I'd recruit you, Mark, to be the guru. Because I know I do not want to game plan for every opponent. There are other things that would take, as a head coach, I think, my attention. I don't want to be the expert on these ATOs. I'd want you to have those dialed up, right? Or whoever you hire as your guru. I think that having a guru on your staff is essential, especially if you are not naturally that guru. Because really, a guru is an expert. A guru, like, they've got all the knowledge. A guru is the one that's like, they know all the information. They know the stats. They've been around. They're like, oh, they know what play won the state championship 5 years ago, and they've got it on speed dial. That's amazing. Okay, so we do not want to come across as if guru is in any way negative. I'm thinking of a coach like a Bob Starkey, who I've got a ton of respect for. He's a guru. I sat in and heard him talk about how to run scouts for 2 hours. And I was like, I didn't even know that there are this many things you could do for a scout. He's a guru. He has so much more depth of knowledge and information than I could ever have specifically about running scouts. And he geeks out on that stuff. And I'm like, I should never run a scout again. I should just have you do it.
Yeah, well, that's why he does all the scouts.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do you agree with this statement? If you're a coach that wants to break into the college level, or maybe you're wanting to get into the pro level, the easiest way to get that job in today's coaching landscape is to be a guru.
That might be the second easiest way. The easiest way is to be the father, mother, or guardian of the top recruit in the country, and then just piggyback them to a job on staff.
Sure.
But the
Uh,
second easiest way, yes, is, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna
yeah.
bring in this specialized person for this thing."
Yeah, I was gonna say too, maybe the connector would be one, which we'll get to, because you could be the recruiter or the recruiting coordinator. But I feel like now that's probably less important with NIL and transfer portal.
I mean, what other consideration are players making beyond financial ones at this point?
I talked to a Division 1 coach who just switched jobs,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's public yet. I talked to him yesterday on the phone, and he just said, "Man, it is you were in the Division 1 world 3 years ago. It is 1,000 times worse than it was 3 years ago." It's like you're on campus recruiting when they're just like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, how much you gonna pay me? And what
They
do I
don't
have
care
to do
about
for
anything
that
else.
money?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Because
So,
everybody at that level, at least, they believe they're gonna show up and get playing time, and everyone knows that promises mean nothing about playing time at that point. It's just money.
here's the flip that should happen in regards to NIL is we're not paying you for what you're going to do next year. We're paying you for what you did last year,
Yeah.
whether that was here or somewhere else.
Mhm.
That would be a way to maybe set some kind of market equilibrium or just some kind of boundaries, because right now it's just completely
I mean, so you're
unsustainable.
are you suggesting that that market price would be mandated by the NCAA based on performance last year? Or
No, I just think that is what should set the market value.
yeah, I mean, but in the free market, there's still gonna be people that bet on potential, and so they establish the
Yes.
going rate.
I don't disagree, but then when a player, let's say, starts the season and scores 3 20-point, game, or like averaging 25 points, and it's
You
like, "Hey."
cut their NIL.
Well, they're gonna come to you wanting more NIL, and you say, "No, no, that's what we're paying for you to do, right? Like, we
Mhm.
base it off what you did last year, and we're projecting what you're going to do this year. We're paying you this much to do that job, not." You don't just have a few good games and then all of a sudden get a raise. So, anyway, we weren't supposed to be talking about NIL. We're
Let's
supposed
go
to be talking
back to
about
how
gurus.
everyone can become more of a guru, have like a deeper knowledge of game systems.
How to be a better guru would be like keep everything on brand. It's okay to add some things, but look for actions maybe over plays, or look for principles over specific like rules or specific offense that you would incorporate or specific adjustment that you would incorporate. Just look more broad scope. How can you incorporate these things in what you're already doing?
Okay, let me share one additional point on actions over plays and get real specific on that. I think the best gurus turn the dials instead of press the buttons. And let me define what I mean by that. Pressing the button would be run this play. That's pressing the button. Now run this play. I'm holding up this card. I'm holding up that card. Joysticking is a term we've used a lot. I think that is the negative tendency of many gurus because they have a huge playbook. What I think the best gurus do is they just turn the dials. They recognize we have an advantage against this opponent when we get post touches. And so we're going to run actions that get us post touches because we know that we have, an offensive advantage here, or they turn the dials. I was one of our member coaches, Stephen Faniel. I think I'm saying his last name correctly, Faniel. He's one of our premium members, so he gets film feedback. And this summer, for his development plan, we're doing one game film feedback per week. And so he sends me a snippet of game film. He says, "Here was what we were trying to do against this team, and here's why we were trying to do it. So the last week's one I gave him, and we're focused on their defense right now, is he said, "Hey, we really felt like we were better in chaos than this team." And so we tried to turn up the dial of our defensive intensity. We tried to hunt or snipe or steal more passes. We tried to get more aggressive on the ball in order to speed them up and put them into chaos. So we turned that dial. And we've looked at other ones where they tried to turn a dial of, backtrapping every spin dribble, or where they turned it down and they tried to stay home because they thought they had a little bit more of an advantage one-on-one defensively. That is what I think a positive outcome of a guru is being able to really understand where do we have an advantage and how can we lean into getting in those situations more, as opposed to saying this is the exact play we're going to run, or this is the only defense we're going to run, but rather it's going to be a trend as opposed to a button pushing.
Yeah. I like that. I like to turn the dials. Stevie is actually a state champion this year as well, running our SAVI system. So congrats.
Based on how he is approaching his off-season development, this is guru development. This is being a
Yeah.
learn-it-all, right? This is guru development that he's leaning into. Whether that's his primary or not, that's what he's doing this offseason. So I big snaps to him. This is how you develop in the offseason.
We actually had a post in the community today, and I asked coaches, what do they think they are?
Ooh,
And he said, I think I would consider myself a guru. So
come
he is
on. I hadn't seen
in
that
right
post
on.
yet.
So yeah, I like that idea, but I also think there is a time where when you are the guru, you got to be ready to press the button. And that is ball goes out of bound, 1 second left, we're on the sideline, guru, here's the clipboard, right? And that's when you press the button. But yeah, general game planning, yeah, you're turning dials really, really good. Speaking of pressing buttons, if you're listening, you could like the podcast, you could
Press
share
the
the
button.
podcast. If
Don't
you're
turn
on
the dial on this
YouTube,
one. Press the
yeah,
button.
if you're on YouTube, you can like or subscribe. So yeah, press the button now. That's your sign.
Also, speaking of pressing buttons, I mean, I'm just reading this post in our Savvy basketball coach community. These are great conversations about coach development. This is where coaches go to get better. We would love to have you come check it out. No obligation, free trial, 7 days, savvycoach.com. Come check us out, hang out with us. We do a live training every week. Jump on live, get to know me and Mark. We'd love to meet you.
Okay, let's dive into another way to be a better guru.
You want me to kick this one off?
Yeah, you kick this one.
Have clear and unique language. Use sticky language that's very memorable. Use language that's unique to you and your program that, again, is on brand, as Mark was saying. And have language that actually says what you're trying to do. So, one very specific one is at Savvy, we say close off as opposed to close out, because what we're trying to do is make every catch a dribble. We want to close them off of the 3-point line. We don't want to keep them there. We want to make them put the ball on the deck and go. So we say close off. That's really clear is what we're trying to do. I mean, another one is we don't call help at the rim help. We call it wall, because we want them to wall up and not foul, right? So it's what they should actually be doing is they should be walling off the rim to not give up nines. And 9 is an open layup. We want their body between the ball and the rim. So there's no big advantage or even small advantage layups. They're neutral layups. So those would be 2 examples of that.
Yeah, another one would be snipe, right? We're
Mhm.
telling you exactly what we want you to do on the free side. And then one that we're going to work on tonight in the gym that I've already gone through, made our practice plan. And what I'm going to say tonight over and over and over is no one shoots where they catch. That is going to be just a principle that we use on the defensive side tonight. It's something that we need to clean up. And the first way we're going to do that is just by introducing new language or new sticky language.
Well, in the gym tonight, we're going to be working on squeeze, which again is very clear and sticky language. We want to squeeze ball handlers at all times, which means move your body closer to the ball handlers so they feel that you're squeezing them out of the space, squeezing the last little bit of toothpaste out of the tube. There's nowhere to go. They feel squeezed, because we want to make every dribble a pass. Those are just core principles. Going back to last week of being a better teacher, those are principles, instead of plays. Make every catch a dribble, every dribble a pass. And those are overarching principles of our defense. And so we're working on the squeeze tonight.
All right, one more example of clear terminology. This is a favorite of mine. We would name our actions, and we could combine actions to be a play call. So if you're a guru and you do need a joystick or you do need to turn a dial, I could say something like fingers fat was one of our favorite ones because no one uses fat as terminology. But all
That
that meant is
FAT or PHAT is
uh pretty hot and tempting.
okay.
Not it's actually FAT fat, and
Okay.
here's why. Defense was out wide. They were out fat instead of being in and skinny and, like, being more gap. So when we said fat, that was we're gonna go fingers into a back cut, and we're gonna take advantage of them being out wide. So I could just say fingers fat, and our guys knew we were gonna go fingers, we are gonna drive it to the elbow, and we were gonna back cut the corner. And I could say it 1,000 times, and that other coach has no
No
idea what
idea.
fingers is, and they have no idea what fat is.
Mhm.
So that's one way that just having not only just like sticky terminology, but just having really clear names for something instead of back cut or hey, they're overplaying. So what do we do? Just having like really, really clear terminology that you can lean on year after year after year.
Funny story about vocabulary. So, yeah, I'm coaching youth teams too, and I think this was a girl on our 12U team actually in a recent tournament. She ran a fingers cut and got called for a moving screen. All right, the ref called her for a moving screen. For those of you that are in our community know what a fingers cut is, it's a screen that looks like a cut, right? So the ref's like moving screen, and she's like, "No, it was fingers," as if the referee knew. Like, it's just a normal basketball term because it's the only thing she's learned basketball. She's like, "It can't be a moving screen." She's like, "It was fingers." Like, she even couldn't process that you call it a moving screen because everyone knows that fingers is a cut.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Well, it's also funny when players get upset when they get called for an illegal screen. I'm like, well, that's kind of what we're doing. It's
Right.
okay. You're gonna get called on it every once in a while.
Yeah. All right, last one. Gurus simplify, they don't complicate. Sometimes we think of a guru speaking in riddles or, in a parable that you gotta really, really dwell on. No, gurus make the complex seem simple, not the other way around. Simplify your defense. So here it would be an example. I got to be at a Seattle Storm training camp years ago, and I think you've heard this one before, Mark, but we'd gone 2 days and only worked on offense. And so I asked the coaching staff in a little debrief, I'm like, "So, when are you installing your defense?" And they said, "We don't." And I said, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, we don't actually tell them anything to do on defense. We actually just let them figure it out." And we find that that forces more communication and more trust, and it's harder for the opposing teams to exploit because we might guard a ball screen with a switch or a hedge or a drop. It's kind of whatever that individual player likes to do most, and they learn to work together. And I was like, wow. And what was really amazing was this coach was seen as a defensive guru. That was like their image. And I was shocked. And of course, like, they refined what they were naturally doing, but they didn't dictate as a team, this is how we guard a ball screen, or this is how we guard this certain action. It's just like, okay, what do you guys do naturally? Is it working? Good. Let's do it better. Is it not working? Yeah, try something else. And that's what gurus do is they really simplified it as opposed to said, here's the 9 different ball screen coverages, which I have heard taught before. Shout out Lawrence Frank. He taught 22 ways to guard the ball screen. And that didn't make me think of him as a guru, though obviously he had a deep knowledge of it. Guru would have been, okay, here's the one way you can guard the ball screen. It's gonna be the most effective way at all levels. I'd be like, what a guru. Making things simple.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about making things simple because I think that is a trap that gurus can fall into. So
Mhm.
as you add and add and add and add, maybe your team doesn't get better at any of these things because you're not getting enough reps, you're not getting enough knowledge of it, you're not getting enough experience in it to be able to just be an expert in it or be able to deviate a little bit from that. And still keep it simple. So, an example you mentioned ball screen coverages would be maybe a principle is well, we want to guard ball screens with 2 players and not involve somebody tagging the roll and bring a third player where we give up the lift or the shake on the backside or the duck in underneath, where we can guard a ball screen with 2 players by switching. Maybe it's an ice, maybe it's drop coverage, because the more engaged your hedge defender is, then the more likely you are to have to tag the role and bring a third defender in. So maybe that is a guru approach there, is just having the principle of we guard ball screens with two players, and these are the three different coverages we could execute that with. So yeah, I mean, strength of a guru, make the complex simple. The blind spot of the guru is the more you add, the harder it is to remain simple. And you want your teams to get better as the year goes on. You want to be your best in March. And I guess the non-guru approach, more just like the more is better approach would be, we have all these coverages, we have all these plays, and then you've spent all year long practicing these. And then in March, you're probably only going to get down to like your bread and butter stuff. So to me, that approach would be like, oh, all we did, all that work this season was kind of a waste because we're not using that as the most important time of the season.
Well, today you learned how to become more of a guru and what that actually means. Come back next week as we'll deep dive another one of our coach personalities. Until then, stay savvy.
Stay savvy.